right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's going on?
What's going on?
I saw something that I hope was AI triggered because it was possibly the worst thing I'd seen in quite some time. And first impressions, I think, are somewhat big. But if the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach was serious with that intro yesterday, dude, and I know we don't do hot Jaguars talk like Matt Cause used to do. Dude, did you see what that guy did in his opening?
You're talking about the Duval chant that they do.
Come on.
That was.
Can you possibly fire a guy after the opening presser?
I'm concerned about him. Very concerned about the whole operation. I'm concerned about the Jags, the way that they're run,
and
everything
look, man,
about it.
Coaches come in all shapes and sizes, but this guy had a corny look to him, and he just made this awkward Duval.
Yeah.
Can we just do we have that, man?
Yeah, we do. I know we had it yesterday by the end.
It's not too early to get into this.
We will play it.
This guy butchered this thing, man.
Yes. JP, let me know when you have it. Don't just play it because we got to set it up and make sure that we have it properly. Because it is a day of introductions, or the last 48 hours, right? I just heard Matt Cause was playing Aaron Glenn, the new head coach down in New York.
That was goofy, too. It's like...
Well, it's so disingenuous, man. You can't show up and say, we're the Jets and we're built for this. No, you're not. The Jets are a joke. They always have been.
Think about the long-standing fan who's just been in misery for years. He'd be looking at saying, do you know what we're built for? Misery, losing, and nonsense drama. That's
right.
what we're built for.
That's right. Do not try to be a hero day one.
No
because
way.
You can't win anything day one. You can lose something day one. I am a believer in that. Like you said, if your first impression is one of weakness or one of it's just phony or it's simply off the page and not accurate, then I'm sorry. I think you're going to lose some people. And I remember actually when Brendan Shanahan was hired, and remember we were all down there. We were down at Scotiabank, and remember Tim Lewicki had every employee at MLSC out. It was the big clap down the stairs and all that. And I remember Shanahan basically said nothing. He looked like $1 million in a great suit and sat up there and said, it's an honor to be home. I'm from Mimico. He said everything you're supposed to say, but basically nothing else. And I remember getting on the air saying, I was curious by that. I'm like, that's an interesting approach. No big promises, no we're going to bite kneecaps off, no go Leafs go chant, just kind of dignified. And in retrospect, I think it was completely planned. He's like, I'm not going to say anything crazy here. I'm not going to be an idiot. I'm not going to yell and scream. I'm not going to jump on tables. I'm not going to do that because I don't think Leaf fans are going to buy it. And I think he was onto something. I think Jets fans would have preferred that. I think Jags fans would have preferred that.
Not
Don't
only
sell
would they
something
You like
that's
that
corny,
approach,
man.
though? You like that approach?
I'm fine
guys,
with that approach.
Guys,
Noodles.
the thing
I'm
is,
fine
not
with
only
that
would
approach.
the Leafs Nation not buy it, they would hold it over your head every single year you left. Do you know the plan the parade comment? Who made that? Tim Lewicki.
Tim Lewicki.
Tim Lewicki, that's right.
They'll never. It'll be attached to him as long as he's alive. It's
Didn't he
that'll
deliver,
be-
though? Technically, he delivered.
He
right?
delivered a Raptors parade. That he did. Yes,
That's
he did.
the thing, though. He took over the whole thing and was like, there's going to be a parade route this way. Now, everyone thought he was talking about the Leafs. He was talking about the Raptors, I guess.
He was right about that. Now, the
Right?
parade planning was a disaster, and I'll blame Tim for that. A 6.5-hour parade. Obviously, they didn't really put a ton of planning into it.
Hey, don't complain. We did 7 hours of radio, and we got a ham sandwich with a piece of lettuce on it.
With no
That
water.
Duffy
And then there was gunshots over to our right.
Oh, it was crazy. Remember, it was bedlam down there, man. Crazy. The whole operation was wild, man.
That was insane, actually.
But it was fun. I'm obviously, I look back on it fondly. And Toronto FC won, right? They won an MLS Cup, and that was great. And listen, if that's who you are, and it's genuine, and you're like Dan Campbell, I look back on his introductory presser now, I'm like, that's actually who the guy was. That's who he is, and that's what he is, and that's what he's all about. But if you're trying to sell something that's not there, that's one thing. I will say this before we get to this guy. I think his name's Liam Coen, I believe is his name.
Dude,
the new head coach of the Jags. It's a jam job to ask him to do this. All right? It's a jam job. Like, Duval is the thing, in Jacksonville. That's what they say.
Who asked him to do it?
I'm based on what I saw, I thought it was someone within the media or the PR or someone said, "Hey, can you give us a Duval?" And he's like, and he did it. He should have said, "I'll leave that for you guys and the fans." All right, let's hear it. Let's see it, and let's hear it. This is the new head coach of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Duval. Duval.
That guy is going to win
dude,
how many games next year?
Dude,
What's
even
your
the
guess?
comments leading up to Duval, it was a corny introduction, and I'm like, he doesn't really look like a football dude, and that was a crazy ending. Like, the players, like, you know what players are like? They must have been having beer somewhere in an exotic resort saying, "That nerd's our next coach."
That's your coach.
He looks like that's Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel.
That's who it is.
That's in Miami. It's a Florida thing, Noodles.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it reminded me of. Is kind of a nerdy coach trying to be funny on in his press conference. And we heard Gronk yesterday. Like, Belichick just all business. He doesn't care about making chants and doing all this stuff. Like, these guys, it's nonsense. It sends a bad message. McDaniel, he's not a stand-up comedian anymore that the Dolphins have crashed and burned.
Yeah, he's not as funny and quirky and wacky, right? He's not a wacky and wild guy anymore.
Well, that's the thing why it's not sincere. It's because when quirky and funny and wacky and all that stuff doesn't work, you slowly start to see a shift, and then the players all say, "Hang on a sec, man, you're a fraud." Because that's not who you were, and now you're going to try to be some kind of Mr. Tough guy because the quirky, funny stuff didn't work.
Right.
And then the players don't buy it.
Yeah, you got to stick to what you are. And, like, the idea of someone asking Belichick to say that, I would actually love to see his response. But I will say, now, if he's trying to get a recruit, Bill Belichick will have to probably do some things that he's uncomfortable with. And I saw someone post a picture. I guess he's out in Colorado. There's some quarterback
from
Colorado.
Living room with the
You see him in his
fireplace.
awkward old guy suit, and he's got like the gray pant, blue jacket, like black tie, tight. Like, he's in there doing his thing. Yeah. But I don't know how he's going to relate to a kid who's 18 years old. Like, I don't see how it's possible.
Dude,
Bill Belichick's
I could only
do that.
see his message being one thing: I can help you become elite and get to the next level.
Yes,
because I don't think his message is going to be, I'm going to give you this great experience at college. I just don't see that happening.
No, and quite frankly, if you're a good enough player, and if you're a parent of a good enough player, that's probably all you're asking for. Make sure he's okay. Make sure he's safe, right? Like, that's always what gets asked. It's like going to the CHL. You guys know this. When you go there, it's like, make sure you take care of him. We're not around anymore. Make sure he goes to school or whatever he's supposed to do, and make him better. That's ultimately what it is, and that's what Belichick's going to do. Make sure they go to class when they're supposed to, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and go out and play ball. Yeah. And, that's his whole operation moving forward. He's recruiting. Bill Belichick. Duval.
It's probably so awkward for him, though. Like, he's literally going, I had Tom Brady was listening to what I have to say, and he's in the living room of some
begging, making promises,
and he's going to run into like a LeVar Ball type dad who's like, hey Bill, who do you think you are? Like, I won state championship back in '89, and it's like, oh my god, I got to listen to this guy now.
No, but there's going to be another dad saying like, where's the money? Like, what kind of money are we talking?
More importantly, where's the money? That's coming too. Belichick can deal with that though, man. He's dealt with contracts and money. I don't think he'll be uncomfortable when it comes to the money.
There's an Uncle Rico, though. There's the guaranteed one of these kids has an Uncle Rico that's like, I can throw a football over that mountain over there. Like, that's that. And I used to play, and has to tell Belichick the story of how he was a state champ until he hurt his knee, and now he works in the mill or whatever. Like, guaranteed, he's going to have to nod his head and entertain that story from some uncle.
That's not supposed to be there, but sniffed out that Belichick was coming and showed up and came in through the back door. And exactly. Bill's got to listen to him and pretend like he cares. Where when he was in the pros, he'd say, get this guy the hell away from me or you're cut. or I'm just not drafting you. I'll take somebody else.
I used to be able to throw a pigskin a quarter mile.
Yeah, you have to do it. You got to listen to that guy. All right, so we got Bruce Garrioch coming up later in the hour because Spartacat the mascot is a wanted man in Ottawa.
I had to do some catching up on this because I didn't realize the fire it started.
I'm going to get labeled as an arrogant, big city slicker.
Yes.
But why
Let's
are people mad at the mascot? Okay, so if you're not familiar with the story, because this is big.
You need a pick.
It's a big story in Ottawa.
If there's a pick out there, show the pick if there's one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So yesterday it was announced, like Michael Andlauer, the new owner of the Ottawa Senators, he's on the record saying he wants to play regular season games in Quebec City, right? They want to try to attack Quebec City as their market, right? They're definitely going to try to get Gatineau going, and obviously Montreal, the Habs, the Canadians have owned, hockey in that province really forever, and the Nordiques have been gone for 30 years. But Andlauer, it's a business move, right?
Yep.
He's trying to get in on a different portion of the hockey community, and obviously he's doing whatever he can to get in on that. So yesterday they announced this is what we're hoping to do, and this is the plan. Sparty, the mascot, wore a half Sens, half Nordique jersey, and people are freaking out because how dare you, Spartacat, the mascot, wear that jersey.
Okay, before you start absolutely going nuclear on this for people having the take or the hatred, who decided that the jersey was a good idea? Like, there's someone in marketing that said, hey, let's fire up this jersey. Like, why would you think that the loyal Sens fan would want to see that? Regardless of how dumb you think the hatred is, how dumb is the idea? Like, it's dumb,
what
isn't
you're
it?
doing is pandering to the Quebec fan, right? So you throw the half the jersey on there. I mean, the mascot took a bullet here.
That's
I think,
I'm saying.
and also, I mean, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, their president, Cyril Leader, who's an unbelievable person. We all know Pooley, like that. They've got a real layer of quality people there. But Cyril came out last night on Twitter and said, our mistake, I'll accept the blame for this. He's obviously taken a bullet for somebody down the chain in marketing or wherever that thought that was a good idea. The fan base was rabid about it. I didn't, to be honest, you and I, we were talking about it a little bit off air or whatever last night. I didn't pay attention to it until this morning. Like the front cover of the Ottawa Sun, like there is, like people are pissed.
And
Right.
that guy
They're
that puts that gear on has probably had 100 million beers the night before, and he's like, I got to go put on the Spartacat costume. Like, to point the hatred at
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, Sparty the cat is going to walk up to a kid the next home game and be like, hey, buddy, how are you? And the dad's going to come over and say, don't touch my kid, you scum. Get away
son
from
of a
my
bitch.
child.
It's not now. I hope that
dare you
doesn't
do
happen.
that? Yes, I'm telling you it's going to happen.
You think Spartacat's got a tough go ahead of him
I
walking
think
around?
Spartacat
No
is
way.
going to take absolute shrapnel walking around that arena.
Oh my God!
And that's what I'm saying. You have an issue. Go to Andlauer, and forget Cyril Leader. Sure, go to Andlauer. The owner is the one. The reason they did this is because they want Quebec City. Like that's what they want. They want Quebec City. They want the province.
What do they want out of
They
Quebec
want money,
City?
and they want. It's no different than, the blue. Let's use a Toronto team for example, or any team. Right, you want to get into Japan, okay? We want to sign a player from there. We want to get our brand going in Japan. We want to get down to South America. We want to get big. It's the same thing. That's my impression of the story, and Bruce could tell us what he thinks later in the hour. But they're looking at it thinking, okay, Montreal's had a monopoly over this province forever. We're not going the other way because the Leafs have that. Let's see if we can get into Quebec City and maybe get some fans and make some money. Talk to the owner. You got an issue, go talk to Andlauer.
And you know what? Like, I always stay downtown Ottawa. You go 10 minutes, you're in Quebec. Like, you go right across the bridge, you're in Gatineau. So what I think they're trying to do is expand the fan base across the border. I don't know if Eugene Melnick had a relationship across the bridge into Quebec.
Yeah, but that's Gatineau. Like, Quebec City is not exactly close to that.
No, it's not a suburb of Ottawa.
It's not, but I think what you do is you start there and you start to build out. And you're right, Quebec City, I feel like, and again, I'm on the outside of this. Like this has caught me off guard, and I don't know the semantics of the city as far as who's loved, who's hated, all of that type of stuff. But I do know, I've always felt like Quebec City has gotten a bum rap out of it. They used to have a team, they got nothing now. And now you've got the Habs down the road, and you've got Ottawa down the road. It's almost like maybe that market's up for grabs, and they put their hand up and go,
but
well,
Noodles, don't you
we'll
think, like,
there.
as soon as the Quebec Nordiques left there, and I don't study this type of stuff. I have no idea about the analytics of viewership, fandom, how to attract more people. Don't you just try to put the best team on the ice and get the rabid Ottawa Senators fans fired up? Like, when the Quebec Nordiques left, don't you think the majority of the people that were Nordiques fans are just like, yeah, we're Montreal Canadiens fans now, or we're going to watch the Colorado Avalanche? Like, do you really think that they're dying to jump on board with the Ottawa Senators? I don't know. I got to be honest, I can't believe we're even had. It's got to be discussed, but it's really corny, the whole idea of just dressing the cat up in the jersey and trying to pluck fans from Quebec City. I'm like, I don't know.
That's what it is, though. But it's not like he we're goofing around with the mascot, but it's not like he was wearing half Sens, half Leafs. Like the Nordiques have been gone for 30 years.
Yeah, they're not in the league.
They're not in the league
open
anymore.
Market.
Yeah, and my thought was initially, I wonder how the Habs feel about this, because that's what I would be thinking. If I'm Montreal, I'm thinking, okay, they're trying to attack what we have, because Montreal's got a monopoly on the province, and I don't know how many old school Nordique fans would ever allow themselves to like the Habs because there was such a rivalry back in the day.
But do you think that they're sitting there saying, okay, the Nordiques have gone, they're gone, they've been gone for a long time. I'm dying to attach myself to something.
Well, I think I would think it's a smart business plan, or at least an attempt to get in there and get younger fans if you play games there, right? If you play, it's just like what the Bills did trying to come up to Toronto. It's the same thing. The Bills looked at Toronto and said, let's play a home game there. We're going to absolutely enrage our fan base in doing it, but it might be lucrative. We probably sell it out. There's a building waiting for us. We're going to make some money, and maybe we get some fans there that said, hey, I got to go see the Bills play, and now I'm a lifelong Bills fan, and I'm sure that's what the Sens are thinking right now. But I understand the sensitivity, because what Andlauer is saying is, I'm taking 2 or 3 home games away from the Ottawa Senators. I mean, that's what it's going to be. If they go play in Quebec City, it's not going to be a home game for someone else. It'll be 38 games in Ottawa and 3 in Quebec City.
Well, the other element to this is, Brian, and I don't know, players go home, they think about hockey, they drive to the rink, they play the games, and what the mascot has on or what people are saying, I don't really believe it affects them. But why the distraction right now when the team is in a playoff spot? They've been through an incredible, difficult schedule. They've held their head above water, and now this pops up. Like, that's got to come into play, too. The timing of this, bringing all of this into the equation right now at this point of the season, who needs that?
Well,
like, of all people, people at the top will always say, who needs distractions? Keep everything kind of, I don't know. Why would you want to do that?
Thing is, the players play, the marketing people never stop. So regardless, and I think there's a disconnect between the two. The problem that you just brought up, is now when the marketing side spills over into the hockey side, and Thomas Chabot's got to talk about it, and long-standing Senators.
Thomas Chabot had to say Sparty was just doing his job.
I know,
he's
but
out
that's the point.
supporting Sparty the cat.
Well, I support Sparty too. I mean, the thing is he's just doing his job.
Leave Spartacat alone, please.
I know.
Hashtag.
Like, these poor mascots, they just
Leave
do
him
their
alone.
job.
He's a good guy, and he's just doing what he's doing.
I mean, I will get a little bit. I'm doing the game Thursday. They don't play till Thursday. I'll get a sense of, like, the marketplace. We're going to talk to Bruce. Bruce is there every day.
Yep.
He's got a pulse of the fan base. I get a good pulse of the fan base, but more from the hockey side. This is the business side, so I don't really get a pulse of how this would affect or whatever. I can understand the semantics of it. Like you just said, if you got 41 home games and 3 are not going to be in your building because you decided to try and expand, obviously the fan base would be pissed at that.
Everyone's going to be bothered by that. People that work at the rinks.
Guys, we
got
to hear Chabot. Let's hear Chabot defending the cat.
All right, let's hear Thomas Chabot doing what he should be doing. This is a leader. This is leadership right here. The Sens are locked to make the playoffs because of what I heard out of Thomas Chabot today.
I completely understand. Like I said, where the fans are coming from, I totally get it. There's nothing behind that on my side. I completely understand where they're coming from, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's a showing for us to go to Quebec City and play in front of fans for preseason games. And you know what? At the end of the day, the Sens are not going anywhere. We're in Ottawa. We love being in Ottawa. There's nowhere else we'd rather play than the Canadian Tire Center here every single night. And that's all there is to it. And obviously, like you said, to mention Spartacat, I mean, the jersey, it's you're going to Quebec City. It's been such a famous jersey. Like, my dad would be pumped to see that jersey. I think that's all there was behind that. There's no meaningful thoughts behind our own jersey. We all love our jersey. The logo is up front, big and proud, like it always is. And that's all it was. I mean, Sparty was just there doing his job and doing his day. And there's nothing behind it for him that thinking about the Nordiques. It's just you're going to go to Quebec City. The jersey's famous. Everybody loves the jersey there.
Yeah, that's it. That's leadership right there, man.
That's the longest interview I've seen Thomas Chabot do, and it's
For
about the
Spartacat.
mascot taking
Imagine
bullets.
like somebody in Montreal, like Loopy or whoever that guy is, the orange.
Youppi. Yeah,
Yeah,
Youppi.
Is it
Youppi.
Oopie or
Imagine like
Loopy or-
talking about Youppi's actions defending him.
I know.
Or
I
like
could-
Gritty in Philly. Like, imagine Scotty Lawton talking about Gritty, the mascot, like saying he's just doing his thing, he's working hard. Like, it's crazy.
And I'm telling you, like, Noodles, you have to be on high alert. I know you're going to be busy.
Yeah.
But if someone smack talks Spartacat on Thursday, I need to be
I
the
gotta
first
stand
one
up
to
for
know
him.
it.
I gotta stand up.
You got to stand up for him.
The last time I saw a mascot get tuned up was remember Mac T grabbed the Harvey the Hound's tongue. He grabbed his tongue and ripped it off. Now Harvey, I maintain, deserved that because he was acting up and he was going over the glass. He shouldn't. There's a line, but Mac T crossed that line by grabbing the tongue and ripping it out. But I don't know what type of nonsense Sparty's going to be up for.
I know, man.
Now,
Leave Sparty alone.
I thought Chabot laid it out. Like, these are preseason games we're talking about. Or are they talking regular season
Well,
games
Anlauer said, listen, if we can play games in Sweden, why can't we play in Quebec City? Like, it's pretty substantial that there's Harvey.
There it
Hound.
is.
What's he doing messing around
See
with
there,
it?
look.
Get Mac T all bent out of shape.
And then he holds it up like a trophy, throws it over the glass.
Good for
Did he
him.
get fined for that?
I was just wondering that. I don't know. I would think the league probably had that's a conversation, right? That's probably Colin
but
Campbell.
they should have a conversation with the dog too.
Right.
The hound or whatever.
He's
don't
a
be
mascot.
acting up. Like, and that's a battle of Alberta. I think Mac T was coaching Edmonton at the time.
That's right. You know what would have been hilarious is if Mac T wore a helmet when he was coaching. No helmet while he's playing. And a
But
helmet,
wore a
mouth
helmet
guard.
while he coached. And a mouth guard.
a helmet and
my
a
God.
mouth guard behind the bench.
He's the
But old
best.
Sparty Cat, who knows what's in store for him? The timing of it, it just seems
I
weird.
hear you,
It's
man.
like
They're in a
you're
good
right in
place.
the thick of this, and you battled and fought, and fans are excited. I was at the World Juniors in Ottawa. They got great fans there, man. They love hockey. They're passionate. And all of a sudden, we want to play exhibition games in Quebec City. I just don't know about the
Well,
timing.
let me ask you
Again,
this.
regular season games is their plan. Regular
ask you-
season games.
Do you
in
know that
Quebec
for a
City.
fact?
Well, I think his
That's what
comments.
Anlauer said yesterday.
Yeah, you're
yes.
just dissecting his comments, but I and maybe Bruce can speak to this. I'm just thinking out loud. This isn't a negotiation about LeBreton Flats and all of that too, right? Like, is this?
Well,
like they're
that's-
trying to get the land secured,
Yeah.
all of that type of stuff.
So
Like,
is
they're
it a
trying to get
play
new
to
building.
tell them to get their ass
It
in
could
gear, or we
be.
might be
I don't
going to
know.
Quebec City, or
Remember
what the hell's...
when Gretzky showed up and said maybe the Oilers would go play in Seattle or whatever it was?
Well,
and
things
that-
moved after that. They got a new building like pretty
Yeah.
quickly after that. I mean,
Okay. Maybe
you know,
Sparty's like, just a brilliant real estate mind, right? And a negotiator. Maybe
what
that's
if he was wearing a
Spartacat
hard
doing.
hat? Like he Sparty with a hard hat on,
Yeah.
like a construction vest.
Making
That's
deals
where-
happen. I love it.
I don't know. I would like to see, personally, selfishly, I would like to see that new building break ground sooner than later, just
Sure.
because you're closer to downtown, engage everybody. But it just, with it out in Canada, it's a bit of a grind for people to get out there. But listen, you're right, The last thing this team needs is distractions. They've had nothing but distractions as far as injuries and all of that type of stuff.
Noodles,
Now
like
they're
in
off
the middle of
days.
that grind, if I was Thomas Chabot, if I know how I kind of acted, I would have said, send somebody else out that that put the jersey on the cat. I got enough garbage on my mind. I got to think about hockey. You think I'm going to go out there and answer questions about Spartacat? No thanks. Whoever made the jersey, you're the one going in front of the camera.
He did
I'm a
great
hockey
job, though.
player.
He did a great job.
He did a great
he's
job.
French-Canadian.
And he's French-Canadian. Like, that's the guy you
long-standing
wanted
Ottawa
out there.
Senator.
That's the guy you needed out there because Brady's from St. Louis. What's he going to say?
Well, you know what, Noodle? Sometimes players or ownership and coaches will say, you know what, you want to get the players out here to ask the players. They're the ones that went out there and played. Well, get somebody else out there that dressed the stupid lion in an outfit that had half a Nordiques jersey on. Because I didn't do it.
Is it a lion? Is it a lion?
Whatever the hell it is.
Yeah,
It's a lion.
It kind of looks like a lion. Spartacat.
Yeah, it's a cat.
We'll ask Bruce that. Hard-hitting journalism with Bruce Garrioch later in the hour.
I love it.
We got Mike Johnson on, Bill Guerin on today. They announced Kaprizov. He went through with some surgery, minor. Well, I mean, I don't know how minor it can possibly be, but he's been dealing with something throughout the year. He's going to be out for upwards of a month, but it's not season-ending. Bill Guerin was stressing that today. But Kirill Kaprizov will not be playing tomorrow night. That's a bummer if you got leave tickets, right? If you're going down to see them play, Kaprizov's a guy you desperately want to see play, and he's only here once a year.
For the Leafs too, though. I mean, that's you
it's
take
a
a
big
top
win
tier
for the
player.
Leafs.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you take a top tier player out against an opponent that they're tied in the standings. They get the exact same record. Like and Minnie's pushing hard, so it's a again, you hate to see people injured. But it's a boost for the Leafs because that's a top-tier player not playing against you tomorrow night.
As for the Leafs, we'll come back and get into some of the things we saw at practice today. It sounds like Tavares and Nyes should return by the weekend. They head to Edmonton for Saturday night. Stolar's practicing with the team. The hope is he'll play before the Four Nations face-off, which is only a couple of weeks away. And Calle Jarnkrok out there as well. And we'll get into a number of things that we saw at camp or at practice today. Yeah, Bruce Garrioch later in the hour. Mike Johnson confirm or deny today. Bill Guerin coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Overdrive continues. Powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Mike Johnson still to come. Rory McIlroy with some great comments about playing the RBC Canadian Open. We'll get to that a little bit later on. And Bruce Garrioch later in the hour. The Leafs were back in practice mode today. They've got Minnesota in town tomorrow, and Calle Jarnkrok out there, and he was in a blue sweater for whatever that's worth. I don't think he ended up actually partaking in practice, but I think he's going to be back soon. It won't be before the Four Nations, but at some point he's going to return here. And I was trying to think of which player on the team, if any at all, should be concerned by that. Like, is there a player you see in the lineup? Like, I guess I'll answer first. For me, it's Nick Robertson. Like, if I'm Robertson, I'm like, okay, Jarnkrok's coming back. He's a vet. He's more trusted defensively. Robertson's been on that third line for the majority of the year, in and out at times. Jarnkrok seems to fit in pretty well there, can kill penalties. That would probably be my thought.
It's all timing, Hayes. Like, if it's the world of accountability and a veteran guy is going to come back and the coach is kind of licking his chops to get him a look and place him somewhere, if you're not Austin Matthews or Nylander or Marner or Tavares and you're not on top of your game, it would get your attention. Mm-hmm. Because you're looking at the coach and trust me, it's like a new Christmas toy. It's like, okay, this guy's new. I want to check out what he's got. And coaches always fall in love right at the beginning, and they start somewhere around the top, and then they filter their way down to where they originally should be slotted. But if you're a guy that's not on his game, and you can go through the lineup and figure out and it might be a week from now, it might be 10 days from now, who knows? But you got to be thinking, I don't want to see that guy around, or I don't want to put myself in a position where I might get nudged to the side, and he's going to take a sniff where I am.
Right.
That's just the way it goes.
I mean, you could go deeper and go Ryan Reeves, but Reeves is there for a purpose, right? But if you deem that he is not going to be serviceable in a particular night or a particular series, then that's what I would look at and go, okay, Jarnkrok could slide in on your fourth line and then work his way up depending on how he feels. Keep in mind, Jarnkrok's not 27 anymore. I think he's 33, coming 34 type of thing. So it's he's got to jump on a moving train, and that's tough to do mid-season, so it'll take him a bit to get up to speed. But, I think Robertson would be a guy. Minton's not going to be, I don't think, Tavares will come back and push him out. I think Holmberg's a guy I'll push down. I know, you like him more than then I like him, but I think Holmberg and Kampf are interchangeable for me.
Absolutely.
But
It wasn't too long ago, Calle Jarnkrok was the guy that was like the line fixer. Like he would go on a line and that line started playing well.
Yeah,
so that's a long time ago.
And that's the truth. It's a big injury. He hasn't played, no camp. They've got 32 games left, and this guy's going to try to jump on a moving ship.
With a stop and a start. Like he's starting up, and then there's going to be a break. So that's not going to do him any favors either.
That might actually – it's interesting because he may be – that could be the timeline is when they all return, and they're all coming off the break, and maybe a little bit rusty. But also he was in Nashville for a while. Like Berube would know him well. Not up close and personal, but have a pretty good read on how he plays.
Right.
And listen, his cap hit is – a decent one. I think it's around $3 million or something, $3.5 million. Like it's worth something. So if money's not an issue, then maybe he doesn't play. Like if he can't get up to speed, maybe he's not guaranteed anything. I don't think he should be. But if he does get up to speed, I think he's a guy they would look towards as someone that can help them win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And same thing with Pacioretty, and he's going to return and play, I think. So some decisions are going to be had here. Tavares is going to play. Nyes is going to play. But if Pacioretty and Jarnkrok are both available and they acquire someone at the deadline, all of a sudden there's not that many spots.
I would look at it, guys, as simple as this. Who can produce? Like, are you just going to fall in love with the name? Even Jarnkrok. Like, are you just going to go out there and be Calle Jarnkrok, who just kind of skates up and down, and Max Pacioretty and Nick Robertson? Like, who could score me a goal? Like, sometimes that guy's Nick Robertson who actually puts one into the net.
Could be him.
And it makes it really weird because it's like you don't really play that much, but you score a goal once in a while. Like, but how much do you really value that? I want a guy that can produce.
They need that in the playoffs, Noodles.
Of course they
need someone to score a goal.
I'm looking at their injuries right now. Dewar, Hakanpää, Nyes, Pacioretty, Stolarz, Tavares, Jarnkrok. I mean, out of that whole list, you laid it out, Hayes. Tavares and Nyes are coming right back into the lineup. That's a lock. Mm-hmm. Anybody else a lock to go into that lineup?
Stolarz is a lock, obviously. Stolarz and Wall are that's your pair.
So Stolarz, Nyes, and Tavares are a lock. Dewar, Hakanpää, Pacioretty, Jarnkrok are guys who could add to your depth. It's crazy if they had everybody. Like how many people they have on the ice? 38 people.
It doesn't seem well, and it's not feasible with the cap too, right?
Right.
Like, something's got to give. They're going to have to make some moves to make everyone's money work, which is another element of this. But yeah, there's I don't think that's a bad thing to have though. Like they're all veteran guys. They've all been around the block, and if they're healthy and their options, it gives Craig Berube, a pretty significant whiteboard to fill out. Where we can all determine the 80% of the lineup. We know who's going to play, but that other 20% could be a bit of a moving target, right?
But are they difference makers? That's the thing. Like maybe you talk about adding at the deadline. What O just said. That's where if you add somebody at the deadline, that's going to push one or two of these guys out.
Are you convinced they're going to get a difference maker at the trade deadline?
I mean.
Like, I don't know how we define a difference maker.
That's what I was going to say, Brian. So let's define a difference maker is if you acquire, let's go on the trade board or the rumor board, Yanni Gourde. Yanni Gourde's playing.
Yeah, but he's not a difference maker, in my opinion. He's a plug-and-play guy. But is he an upgrade on Pontus Holmberg? Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
So
but is he definitely going to have a bigger impact than Max Pacioretty in a playoff series? I don't know if he will. He might.
I don't know. I'm just saying you've got a lot of players, but are any of them that you covet to go? Could they be replaced by somebody else in an upgrade in a trade?
Possibly.
That's where my point was.
Sure. Like Ryan O'Reilly, I think is a guy who could make an impact.
Right.
Clearly, and I think there's a couple of other guys who are certainly closer to impact. It really comes down to how you define the term, I guess.
Correct.
That's crazy, the Ryan O'Reilly talk. We can get into it later, but it's like this is his second year of like a 4-year deal in Nashville, and people are talking about him. It's not what it.
But if you're in Nashville, how do you keep going with this same group? I mean, that's the issue.
That's a story for another day.
All right, Mike Johnson on that and more still to come. Confirmed with an eye coming up. Bruce Garrioch will join us. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Mike Johnson coming up. Confirmed with an eye still to come as well. So we started the hour. I came out guns blazing in support of Spartacat, the mascot in Ottawa, because I think he got jammed up pretty bad.
Took a
yesterday.
bullet. Yeah.
He took a bullet, man, and he's a great mascot. People in Ottawa love him. And, he had the audacity, or someone had the audacity, to suggest he wear a half Ottawa Senators jersey, half Quebec Nordiques
And I bet you Sparty at the beginning said, "You really want me to put that on? Are we going to rethink this?"
Yeah.
I bet you he did it, Sparty.
He might have, and he wore it, and people aren't happy in Ottawa. And, again, Michael Andlauer, the owner of the team, clearly they have visions of, that Quebec City market. And I guess bringing it into the fold and maybe either wrestling it from the Montreal Canadiens, or they just feel like it's wide open and they want a piece of it. To chat about the reaction to the story yesterday and the way the team is reacting, here's Bruce Garrioch of Postmedia and, of course, TSN. Bruce, have you had a chance to sit down with Spartacat yet, and what do you make of the reaction from yesterday?
Well, all I can say is I think that what Spartacat did is way more egregious than what Harvey the Hound did with Greg McTavish. I saw your highlights earlier, okay?
Okay.
There is no way that Spartacat ever should have agreed to put on that jersey. I don't know whose brainiac idea this was. I'm led to believe that maybe it came from their marketing department. But you know what? I don't think it would have been that bad or gone over that bad if Michael Andlauer hadn't, and he hasn't made any missteps since he became the owner of this team. But I think he misstepped when he suggested that they might play some regular season games in Quebec City. And, we've heard Quebec City has always been seen as the place where the Senators could end up by the former owner. And there was talk here, guys, 2 years ago, Eugene Melnyk was prepared to have 5 home games in Quebec City. And because he said he felt that he could make more money in Quebec City than if he had a game against the Buffalo Sabres in Ottawa. And I think when Michael Andlauer went there, and then they had the audacity to put Spartacat up in a half Nordiques, half Senators jersey, boom. It was ugly. It was way worse than I thought, to tell you the truth.
Brucey, what about the timing? Like the Sens, they're keeping their head above water. They're won some games, and they got some positive traction. And then this pops up. Like I was saying to the guys before you came on, like if I was Tom Shabbat, I would have said, "I'm not addressing this today. I'm trying to win hockey games, and I got to talk about a furry cat wearing a half jersey. No way! Like the timing is crazy."
Could you imagine you with the Carolina Hurricanes having to defend Stormy?
No, I can't because I just can't, Brucey. It's goofy. Like
you would though. You love Stormy the Pig.
Yeah,
be honest. You would do it for Stormy. And you know it.
I think Thomas Chabot had to step up for Sparty. Poor Sparty. As I said, Sparty got caught in the crossfire of this. He was just doing his job. Right? And all of a sudden, they deleted the post. That just tells you. And I think there were people in there who said, I don't think you should do this. And I just don't think, I think one of two things. I think that Michael Andlauer was trying to throw a bone to the people of Quebec City to say, look, I want to help you get your National Hockey League team back. He made it very clear that Ottawa is not moving there, but when they put Spartacat in that outfit, they triggered something. And I said this to Claire earlier, and I'd say it to you guys, we're always told that the logo is sacred, right? And the logo, it's, about the crest on the front, not the name on the back. And they cover the logo when we go in that dressing room so we don't step on it. Well, they stepped on it themselves, and they stepped on it in a very big way by posting that photo.
So, Bruce, is there any more to this as far as negotiations with the LeBreton Flats? Like, is there a bigger message or picture that we're missing here, or is it just strictly that they're trying to expand the fan base into Quebec?
Well, you know what? As you know, Jamie, like all their games along with the Montreal package that TSN has and RDS own are showed in Eastern Canada. And I think one of the things that Cyril Leader said yesterday in trying to explain all this is that, Quebec is their second biggest television market. So there's a lot of eyes on you in Quebec living rooms when you're on the broadcast here, Jamie. So I think that what they're trying to do is maybe try and convince some people in Quebec City when they go there, as Thomas Chabot said today, when they go there, they're going to visit some schools. They're going to go sign autographs. They might have a hockey clinic. They're going to spend 4 or 5 days there, maybe just to get people who don't want to hope for the Montreal Canadiens to maybe hope for Ottawa. As far as the Breton goes, I've spoken to both sides in the last 72 hours, and both sides feel that even though this is taking a lot longer than Michael Andlauer would want it to take, it will get done. And it might take until the end of 2025 for them to come to the point where the Senators actually own the land, but it is going to get done. And I don't think that negotiation is going to go off the rails, certainly in my discussions with people from the NCC and with people from the Senators.
We have Bruce Garrioch of Postmedia and TSN on this story that came out of Ottawa yesterday, where the Sens are exploring the idea of playing maybe some regular season games in Quebec City and possibly taking advantage of that market. And what's I find fascinating here, Bruce, is I've kind of lived this from the Quebec City side of things with the Buffalo Bills, where the Bills looked at Toronto and said, that's a market we want. We're going to bring the Bills up here. And what they did poorly was they made it so clear it was just about money and just about cash grabs and business. And the Bills players hated it. Bills players would come up and complain. The media would come up and complain.
Yeah.
And it went horribly, and it was a disaster. And I guess what I'm getting to is if I'm in Quebec City, I'm thinking, if the Senators think they're just going to waltz into town and here's my money and now I'm a fan, that's not going to happen. In order for it to work is what you just said. They have to actually embrace the market, show up at the market, go to the schools, really be a part of the fabric of society. Yet the flip side of that is, I would get the impression that's what would sting the most if I'm a Sens fan living in Ottawa.
They'll be like, why aren't you coming to our schools?
Exactly. So I don't know how they win this, I guess is what I'm saying, Bruce, because you've got to fully commit to Quebec City. But if you do that, forget Sparty. That's going to infuriate people in Ottawa.
Well, that's just it, Brian. And I think that's what upset people here is that, make inroads in your own marketplace. I don't really think people have loved the fact that they've gone to Sweden, 2 times since I think since 2017, and I think that when Michael Andlauer said that yesterday, the people here, and I thought, you know what, they should want to play 41 games in Ottawa. Not they shouldn't want to play any home games anywhere else. And all I think that has happened now is that they'll play their 2 preseason games in Quebec City, and they might play 2 preseason games in Quebec City in 2 years from now. But I think the chances of them ever playing a regular season game have completely gone out the window.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with this reaction. In terms of them getting back on the ice, Noodle said he's there Thursday calling a game, and you look at the standings currently; they're in 3rd place in the division. If the playoffs started tonight, and I know Tampa's got games in hand, but
yeah,
how would you describe the confidence of the fan base and people in Ottawa that this is for real finally, and the Sens are going to do it and punch a playoff ticket?
Well, I think people are excited, and and Jamie's here enough. He knows people are excited about this team. They're excited. They're excited that they're playing better defensively, and that they're getting good goaltending. And I would think at some point here, maybe even Thursday, we might see Linus Ullmark play. After having been out since December 22nd, and getting him back I would think will help. I think the next discussion that has to be had with Linus Ullmark is whether he really should be going to the Four Nations face-off. But I'm sure that I don't think he should, given what happened with Dominik Hasek in 2006 with Czechia in the Olympics. But I don't think they can stop him either. But first and foremost, they got to get him back in the net here. And the other thing they need to do, obviously, is start scoring some goals, because that was the last issue I thought they'd have Jamie, and they have had issues scoring goals.
Yeah.
Well, again, we'll see where they're at as of Thursday and as we move forward. But, it's certainly a good position to be in compared to the past. And Ottawa's in the playoff hunt at a minimum, and it's going to be a fun stretch run. We appreciate the insight and the update as always, Bruce. Thank you for doing this.
When I left the rink, Claire Hanna was trying to get an exclusive with Spartacat, but she couldn't find them. And I said, "It's okay, Claire. You can have him on question period Thursday night, and he'd probably say more than I did any day."
There you go. Perfect. She is on the case. Claire's the best. She will get to the bottom of this. We know it. Thank you, Bruce.
Good to talk to you guys.
There's Bruce Garrioch of Postmedia and TSN. And, Sens are looking good, man. And it's outside of Washington. We say it every day. Take the Capitals out. Everything else is bunched together, more or less.
And let's be real here. The reason the fans are pissed about any of this, it's not because of the jersey that's half Nordiques. It's because it's a shot at them. This would never be happening with a rabid fan base like the Boston Bruins or Toronto Maple Leafs or the Montreal Canadiens. So they're like, "Oh, we're just second fiddle and we're not." They got a great fan base, man, and I would take that personally too. I would be able to sleep well at night. I wouldn't freak out over the cat, but it would be a shot saying, "Oh, what? We're second class fans." I don't know.
Yeah,
we're not the ones that wanted the arena out here.
That's exactly what it is.
Keeping an eye on the cat on Thursday, for sure.
Make sure you keep your eye on that guy. And I don't want to see or hear any stories of any funny business when it comes to Sparty. Leave Sparty alone.
Guard him with my life.
Please
you know what we
do.
got to get into in the 5 o'clock hours? This Jimmy Rutherford came out and said there's a rift in Vancouver.
Oh, yeah. That's like
crazy.
Not sugarcoating anything.
No, I love
Speaking to the Globe and Mail out in Vancouver. All right, we'll get into that. And Mike Johnson will join us. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.